I believe we're living through the most fascinating years in the entire history of mankind, humankind. We're at the knee of the curve when AI is about to change our lives forever. It may feel like it's coming out of nowhere, but this has been a long time in the making. Artificial general intelligence will be here by 2029, and the lines between technology and the humans are beginning to blur. Computation that once filled a building now fits in a smartphone, will soon fit in a blood cell, will be actually far more powerful than it is today. This is how we're going to fully merge with AI. To understand the future, we need to remember how we got here. So let me back up a little and start there. I've actually worked in AI for 63 years, longer than anyone else alive. Someone might get up and say, oh, I've been in it for 64 years, but we're waiting for that. I got involved when I was 14, 6 years after the term artificial intelligence was coined by Marvin Minsky, who was my mentor, and John McCarthy at a 1956 conference at Dartmouth College. As my career as an inventor took off, I began tracking computation to time the release of my inventions and discovered that it was advancing exponentially. I noticed back in 1983, before anybody knew it was happening. Since 1939, the price performance of computation has grown exponentially, despite wars, economic shifts, and the hardware measured. The smooth exponential trend spans several different technologies. Electromechanical relays is where it started, vacuum tubes, transistors, integrated circuits. When you look at this chart, you can't see where one type of hardware begins and another one ends. It continues regardless of whether there is war or peace. We went through one world war during this period, went from 0.000007 calculations per second per constant dollar with the Zeus of 2 computer in 1939, which Hitler ignored, to 500 billion calculations per second per constant dollar with the NVIDIA chip today. That's a 75 quadrillion-fold increase in the amount of computation you get for the same price. We also have software gains on top of that. The actual overall computation gain is hardware times software, so we sometimes have millions of quadrillion-fold increase in computational efficiency. I used this data in 1999 to predict that computers would reach human-level intelligence by 2029. Based on this prediction, Stanford organized a conference in 2000, and several hundred AI experts came to it. About 80% there agreed with me that we would reach AGI, but they thought it would take 100 years. That was the consensus. I was the only person that felt it would happen by 2029, 30 years. But today, that prediction is actually pessimistic, with some saying it will happen even sooner. AI is about to leap from the digital to the physical world. I'll give you a few examples. In medicine, AI is simulating biology. Moderna used a range of AI tools to help design and optimize mRNA sequences and found the COVID vaccine in 2 days. Soon AI will drive more intensive biosimulations, testing billions of molecular sequences to find solutions basically to all diseases over the next number of years, like cancer, Alzheimer's, and aging itself. AI is unlocking genetic data, like DeepMind's AlphaFold discovering 200 billion protein shapes in 2022. I'll give you just 2 of the recent breakthroughs that did not exist a while ago that have to do with me. I'm concerned with heart disease. Yet drugs like Repatha, which is fairly recent, have provided me with an LDL, the bad cholesterol that is 10 today, and HDL, the good cholesterol that's 64, that's quite unheard of, to show that I have no amount of plaque, so heart disease is no longer a concern for me. I've had diabetes, but today I have an artificial pancreas that exists outside my body. It's just like a real pancreas. In fact, I can show you if you look at this module here, that actually detects the glucose in my body. It works just like a real pancreas. And over the next few years, we'll see even more medical breakthroughs driven by AI. These exponential breakthroughs are going to lead us to what we call longevity escape velocity by around 2032, where you'll be adding more time to your remaining life expectancy than is going by. Right now, as you live through a year, you use up a year of your life expectancy. However, if you're diligent about healthcare and nutrition, you can get back as much as 4 months per year today from breakthroughs in scientific understanding. But by 2032, when you live through a year, you'll get back an entire year from scientific progress if you follow it carefully. And beyond that point, you'll get back more than a year for every year that you live, so you'll be going backwards in time as far as your health is concerned. This won't guarantee immortality. You can still die in an accident, but it will solve aging as we know it. We're also going to overcome accidents. Today, about 40,000 people die a year in the United States from people driving cars. It's similar in Europe. By the time cars drive themselves, which they're beginning to do, this will be cut dramatically. Self-driving cars are being used. The number of accidents is close to zero. These medical breakthroughs aren't going to happen in a vacuum. AI is going to transform everything all at once. Take energy, for example. The Earth receives 10,000 times our energy needs from sunlight, and energy from solar is increasing exponentially. So the cost of solar cells per watt has dropped 99.7% since 1975, increasing usage 2 million-fold. In 2023, DeepMind's genome found 421,000 new stable inorganic compounds to use in technology. So with AI-optimized designs and these new compounds, solar is on track to dominate within a decade. As AI spreads through every industry, the true value of products will be the information they contain. We've seen this evolution, for example, in the music industry, shifting from records to data files. The same will happen for all products, housing, clothing, everything that we use. As AI spreads through every industry, information technology's 50% annual deflation rate will drive down the cost of everything. Technology is both an economic and an information leveler. The smartest systems that were once exclusive to governments are now accessible on the internet to everyone for a small subscription fee, and they're used all over the world. In the 2030s, we'll be able to connect our brains directly to the cloud. People like to compare what we can do with our brains directly to what AI can do. But AI is not a brain extender that comes from Mars. It is something that humans have created. It's already extending our brains. Almost everyone here has a smartphone that extends our brains. That was not true 15 years ago. People did not carry these things around. By the 2030s, it won't be a device that you have to remember to bring with you. You won't actually know whether the answers that your brain appears to present to you are coming from your biological brain or the AI extender that is within us. It'll all be the same source. The risks of AI are real. They must be taken seriously, but I believe we are doing that. For example, AI hallucinations, they're still there, but are becoming much less frequent. And AI is actually much more reliable now than it was a year ago, 2 years ago. That will continue. Also, as AI creates new technical threats, it will radically enhance our ability to deal with those threats. Social networks, which are great, but they are the output of people, many of them unenhanced, comprise a lot of the inaccuracy of online information. If large language models are becoming more accurate, which they are, it is improving accuracy, although it can be used inaccurately, such as with deep fakes. But overall, as large language models get more accurate, we're greatly increasing our intelligence. It may not seem that way, but we are much wealthier than we were a while ago. In America, we made 10 times as much constant dollars as we did 100 years ago. The same is true of Europe. Europeans have experienced a similar increase. AI is going to do the same thing in the future. I estimate that the singularity, when we will expand our intelligence 1,000,000-fold over our unenhanced capability, will take place in 20 years. Today, that's a conservative estimate. We are the species that increases our ability to positively affect our surroundings with our technology. No other species on the planet is able to do this. AI will bring this capability to all humans. Thank you.
That was fascinating. Thank you so much, Ray. Now I'm gonna ask Ray some questions. Ray, you're famous for popularizing the term singularity, and you've painted this very optimistic vision of the future. But as you know, there are a number of people who are concerned that the advent of particularly of artificial superintelligence will not be optimistic, that we'll have this very negative future, that a future superintelligence might be hostile to mankind in some way. Why are you so sure that that kind of scenario won't play out, and that this more positive scenario that you've painted, where we merge with AI and remain in control, will be the future?
Well, I'm not totally optimistic. I mean, there is ways of abusing this technology. Can be used by a superpower that wants to control people. You might see some of both of those things. But if we look at past breakthroughs, people were always concerned about the negative implications. And we're finding that overall it's much more positive. As I mentioned, various negative things like hallucinations are becoming less frequent. Actually, AI from large language models tends to be a positive force. We're actually seeing the information online being more positive as a result. And if you look at human beings, human life expectancy was 35 in 1800. It's 48 in 1900. It's now pushing 80. It's going to go way up once we can get control of negative health concerns with AI, which is happening. So overall, I'm optimistic, particularly if you look at how technology's been adopted over the centuries.
Right, and do you think we'll figure out this issue around control, that we won't lose control of these systems?
As I mentioned, information is actually getting more positive. The various concerns that we've had have actually been overcome. We actually get more powerful methods to deal with it as we generate more problems.
Right.
So overall, I'm optimistic.
Got it. You painted an interesting picture about what's going to happen with the cost of solar power and how renewable energy is getting more and more affordable. We're potentially getting more and more of it on the supply side. but people are very concerned about the demand side of AI, that the energy demand of this technology is increasing very rapidly, and at the moment seems to be outstripping our ability to provide supply. There's even some companies falling back on fossil fuel-based power generation for data centers. Again, how do you feel about where the supply and demand curves may cross here, and why do you think that again the technology will be positive from an energy and sustainability standpoint?
Well, we are handling the energy requirements today. They are demanding, but there's a growing consensus that we need to be able to provide AI with less energy. There's a number of ideas to do that. For example, the concern with DeepSeek uses less energy, but American companies also know how to use less electricity. They have basically similar techniques. We're going to see this problem go away over the next few years. The human brain, for example, uses very little energy, and we can bring that capability to AI. And we can also actually deal with non-renewable energy that requires less energy as we go forward. So there's a number of ways in which we can overcome the energy concern.
Great. You're obviously a best-selling author many times over, a great inventor, have created a lot of intellectual property. One of the big concerns about today's AI from creators is the way in which these systems have been trained on a lot of copyrighted material and then can create outputs that they feel compete with them, potentially make it harder for them to find work. I know you've worked also with systems that you helped develop, I think, one of the first systems that could create poetry, a language model that could write poetry. Curious how you feel about these issues around copyright. Do you feel like we've got copyright right for the current era of AI, and if not, what needs to change?
Well, there is concern with using copyrighted material, but in general, if you look at some of the top large language models, they're not really using copyrighted material and sharing it with people who can then copy it. So I think it's a thorny legal issue, but it's actually being dealt with effectively. If you go to some of the top language models, which I've done, you can't really tell if it's using copyrighted material in a way that would be objectionable. I think we are dealing with that.
Great. I want to get back to this concept of sort of longevity escape velocity, and how what that will unlock. I mean, you talked a little bit about that, but maybe talk a little bit about where that's going. Why why you think the timeline is what it is for that sort of longevity escape velocity?
I mean, people when they're 50 like to say, oh, I don't want to live past 80 or 90, because they think of the way people that are 80 or 90 age, and they don't really want that. When they get to be 90, they want to see tomorrow, and they want to see the next year. And we've continually extended our lives, and we're doing that today. So people's desire to live, to see tomorrow, is going to continue. The problem with being able to live forever is people think they're going to live the way people they see live beyond what they can contribute to society. And I think we can overcome that. The idea is to actually live fruitfully and be able to share all of our information and create new information. at any age, and that's what we're doing. We're being able to overcome problems that prevent us from being able to share humanity.
Great. One last question, Ray. I mean, we may be living these very long lives, but we're going to have super powerful AI. What do you see people sort of doing with those extra years, particularly if AI is actually performing a lot of the functions of work that people currently perform?
Right. Well, people see us versus AI as two different things. I can do certain things, and this can do certain things. But we're really going to merge. It's going to become all together. This already greatly enhances what people can do. People are constantly using it, but it still seems like something else. It's something, even though you have to remember to keep it. But everybody, almost all people watching us have this phone. That didn't exist 15 years ago. It's actually going to go inside us. There's many different ways that we can do that with virtual reality, as well as being able to interact directly with our brain systems. The reason I have that happening in the 2030s is we're not quite there yet, but we are beginning to be able to interact with our capabilities, mental capabilities. So it's going to be one thing. The AI is not coming from someplace else like Mars. It's coming from within human beings, and we're going to become more capable. So we're going to end up with ourselves being able to be much better communicating with language, with art, with music, and so it's not something that's coming from outside. It's coming from within humanity. It's going to expand who we are, and we're going to be much more capable than we are today. It's not us versus AI. AI is part of humanity.
Got it. Great, Ray, we're out of time. Thank you so much for those insights. It sounds like quite an exciting future ahead. Please give it up for Ray, everybody. Thank you very much.